Welcome to Unscripted with Russo. For our podcast, we decided to explore the people behind the narratives. I'll introduce decision makers and influencers and find out the intimate story behind their rise to success. Welcome to an episode of Unscripted with Russo. I'm Ashley Russo, and I'm being joined today by the founder and CEO of Bright Communications and Mimosa Publishing, Jennifer Bright. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks. How are you doing? Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, we're going to get into talking a little bit about Bright Communications and your publishing company. But before we do that, we want to learn a little bit more about you. So tell us first a little bit about where you grew up and what was your sort of family structure like? What kind of kid were you?
What a fun question. So I grew up about 10 minutes from here in Allentown. I went to Deer High School and just absolutely love the Lehigh Valley. It's a wonderful place to grow up. My family and friends were here and I made so many wonderful memories. I went to the University of Pennsylvania on an Army ROTC scholarship. And then I served for 4 years on active duty and went clear across the country to Washington State. And it was funny, the longer I was away, the more I wanted to be home in the Lehigh Valley. So when my commission and commitment was over, I moved back home here to the Lehigh Valley.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service. So amazing. And I do want to talk a little bit more about that. But, you mentioned growing up here and what a great place it is to grow up. I am a transplant here, so I did not grow up here, but I have raised my kids here. So I have a sense of that. What were you like? Give me the 7-year-old Jennifer. What kind of stuff were you into? Hobbies, activities, sports, music? Tell me a little bit more about those foundational times in your life.
Oh, I was one of those kids, Ashley, who just wanted to do everything. I was in band. I played the clarinet from 3rd grade all through college. I was a Girl Scout. I loved that as well. And then I encouraged my own boys to do Boy Scouts. I was in all sorts of activities in school. And then one of my fondest memories growing up, though, was I got a part-time job in high school at the Brass Rail. For the Brass Rail, which is
yes, and it just closed. Oh my gosh, that's an institution in the Lehigh Valley.
It really was.
What did you do there?
I was a bus person, and it was the most amazing high school job because it was a wonderful place to work and just a great family-friendly environment. And there's a group of kids, and we all kind of grew up together in high school. And it was a great opportunity to learn, learn responsibility, learn about having a first job, learn about taking care of people, and most importantly, learn about working with other people. And so now I'm so pleased that our sons are starting to get their first jobs, and now they're having these wonderful, first job experiences where you just sort of learn like, hey, this is all right.
Do you remember liking it in the moment? Like, did you remember you'd enjoyed it when you did? Yeah, my daughter works at a local restaurant and, she takes the takeout orders and packs stuff and works with the customers and she loves it. It really, I feel like as a parent, it gave us such hope that she has this amazing work ethic. So there's things you struggle with, right? Everybody. And to see how much she liked the sense of accomplishment and working with people was really great. But did you like it right away? And did you realize that you were picking up life skills, or was that something you reflected on later?
Oh, what a great question. So I did love it in the moment. I loved everything about it. I loved going to work. I loved my friends, and I loved the experience. In fact, I probably, looking back, worked a little too hard and maybe should have had a little bit more fun in high school. Did I realize I was making life lessons at the time? Probably not. But, I think there's just so much value in having those jobs as a young person where you get to see what is it like? What is it like to work in a restaurant? So later when you go to a restaurant, you have this really deep respect for the people who work there because you know what it was like when you were 16 and you were a bus person. I've had lots of interesting jobs and experiences that, really paved the way for that perspective as a grown-up,
What kind of student were you? Like, were you into school? I mean, you sound like you were focused.
I was focused.
Any subject you loved and subject you hated?
I loved anything to do with English and writing. You won't be surprised to hear.
Shocking.
But I really liked them all. In fact, I remember my favorite class in high school was chemistry, but that was because I had this amazing chemistry teacher who just brought it to life. And then when I went on to college and took a chemistry class, I realized, oh, you know what? The magic wasn't chemistry. It was Mr. Arlotto. That was the magic.
Funny. So for you, it was the person. I had a similar experience because I was actually quite good at math and science through middle school and early high school. And so they kept putting me in these like advanced classes. And I just, by sophomore honors chemistry, I'm like, I don't really love this. And then I had really discovered that piece with the writing and the journalism. And I think I kind of let that side of my brain do. But I sometimes wish that I had done a little bit more of that. Like I wish that I had forced myself to go through it a little bit more. Is there anything that you wish you had pursued more, or something that you did pursue that you thought, thank goodness I forced myself to go through that?
That is a terrific question. The one thing I would say that I definitely enjoyed all the wonderful music experiences I had, but when I was a senior in high school, going on my senior year, I knew I wanted to try to get an Army ROTC scholarship to defray the cost of college. And I knew that those scholarship people really, really prized athletes. Well, I was not an athlete and still not an athlete, but somehow I thought it would be a good idea to try out for the cross country team, right? Of all sports, let's do the most brutal one. So I went on joined the cross country team, and wow, it was an eye-opening experience. And I had a new respect for athletes because it was hard, and I was last all the time. It was humbling. But I did get not only the Army ROTC scholarship, but I also got an Air Force ROTC scholarship. And I guess so maybe all the running paid off. But I think, in life, it's great to have experiences that you love that tell you what you want to do, but it's also great to have experiences that you don't love. So you find out, you know what, I don't think I want to do that anymore.
I find myself with that high school, college age child right now saying things like that a lot. Like it's just as important to figure out what you don't love, or really what doesn't play to your strengths, right?
Yes,
So that's a
exactly.
huge part of kind of business development, is figuring out not only what you're good at and what you like, but what you're really not so good at, so you can get the right kind of people around you to support you to be successful. And I feel like that's a huge piece of it. But it's hard when you're young, right? You want that, especially now. You have younger kids, my kids' ages, and they want that instant gratification, right? We've got that going on. So I love that. That's such a good message. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to hear all about college, ROTC, what that experience was like, and then starting to pursue your career. So you're listening to Unscripted with Russo. We'll be right back with Jennifer Bright. As a mother of two, I know it can be tough to find activities that everyone will enjoy. Luckily, the Lehigh Valley has so many ways to treat your family without breaking the bank. You can experience cool discoveries at the Da Vinci Science Center, or all aboard the WKNS railroad train for an afternoon adventure. There's fun around every corner of the Lehigh Valley, and you can uncover it all on Discover Lehigh Valley's website. Visit discoverlehighvalley.com for more information. Welcome back to Unscripted with Russo. My guest today is Jennifer Bright. She's an amazing female CEO of Bright Communications and her own publishing company, which we haven't even talked about. But Jennifer, you have shared a little bit about growing up and what your interests were, where you pushed yourself, being kind of an intense kid who wanted to accomplish a lot, and that didn't stop with college. So tell us about pursuing ROTC, where you went to college, and what you studied.
Sure. So when I was in high school, I was very fortunate. Deer of High School at the time had a junior ROTC program, and I joined that in my senior year with the hope of applying for an ROTC scholarship, and was awarded not just one, but two. And it's a really big life lesson for me, because I had to choose at an early age, did I want to accept the Air Force scholarship or do I want to accept the Army scholarship? And I really thought about it. And the Army scholarship actually was more appealing to me because they permitted you to have many more majors. And so it was more flexible. And so I accepted that one. I went to the University of Pennsylvania, which was just the perfect fit for me. Not too far from home, but close, but
not too shabby of a school, I might add.
Thank you. It was an amazing experience. And I was part of this great community of other cadets and learned just incredible leadership skills, and most important, skills about taking good care of people. And
you mentioned, though, being interested in ROTC helped to defray the cost of college, but then thinking about what goes into that, not really being an athlete, joining cross country, I have to tell you something. I'm not a particularly fearful person. I like to jump in, but I'd be really nervous about what that ROTC training entails, and knowing that I could only do like 7 or 8 push-ups or something like that. That would be what would permeate all of my thoughts. I have got to ask you, please tell us, what was that time like for you, and what were your fears, and what did you learn from that, and how quickly did that happen?
Well, one of the amazing, wonderful gifts of military service, I think, is you learn that you can do so much more than you ever imagined you could. And so I really took a leap of faith and maybe didn't do too much research or thinking about what it was actually going to be like. I was just like, yes, let's do this. It's perfect. I will get a scholarship and I'll go to college. And then when I was there, I realized the incredible amount of like physical fitness training I would be doing, the firing of weapons and land navigation, and all these amazing things that if I thought about it before, I probably would have been terrified. But there was the point of no return I was at. And so you really rise, it's amazing what you can do. I am not a person who is gifted with land navigation, Ashley, and I was lost in the woods on many occasions on land navigation courses, but I found my way out and here I am. And so, it was really, truly an incredible experience. I worked with fascinating, smart people who are gifted in leadership and working with others. I had amazing jobs and it was great.
What did you end up studying at the University of Pennsylvania? And how and when did that come into play since you went on to serve in the Army?
Well, here's where the story of why it was a really good thing I chose the Army scholarship. So, because of the amazing Mr. Roy Arlotto at Durham High School, who made me love chemistry, I went in as a chemical engineering major because I thought, I love chemistry. This is easy. It's great. So I'm sitting in my freshman physics and calculus classes at Penn, and the most kind man who changed my life, my physics professor, one day called me into his office and he said, Jennifer, this is not for you. And I was heartbroken. I was absolutely heartbroken and terrified because I had a scholarship for chemical engineering. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? But thank goodness the Army allowed you to have almost any major you wanted. So I applied, talked to the amazing cadre staff in our RTC department. I explained that this is not for me. I need to change my major. They helped me through the process. I changed my major. I actually stayed at Penn that summer to take a couple English classes. And I realized, oh, it's like coming home. This is where I'm supposed to be.
It's so interesting. I can't wait to share your story or have my husband listen to this episode because he is actually an English major who ended up becoming a doctor, but he got dual.
No kidding. That's
Yes,
amazing.
and his
So
real passion is writing and humanities. And so it's so fascinating to hear yours almost kind of the reverse of where you went with it. I love that. It's just had to make that little connection. That's so funny.
it's amazing. And so not too long ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I actually found that professor and I sent him an email and I told him his name was Mr. Landy. And I said, you changed my life by you taking the time. And I'm sure it wasn't easy to have a conversation like that with a kid with stars in her eyes who's trying her best. But I said, you made all the difference because you had the courage and took the time and cared enough about me, a student in your classroom, to tell me something that you believed was true, that was true. You changed my life. And he said, thank you. So,
I love that. And I feel like it's so incredibly important to take the time to thank the people along the way that have helped you. So to everybody out there listening, if there's someone in your life that made such a difference, seek them out, find them. Social media makes it easy and let them know that they helped you. Tell me about joining the Army, because it's one thing to say you're going to ROTC. It's another thing to get the education. And then the reality of actually serving comes into play. What did that mean for you?
well, it really was a process of overcoming a lot of self-imposed limitations and blasting past a lot of fears because there was an enormous roadblock between going through ROTC, getting your commission, and actually serving in the Army. And that roadblock is a summer program called Advanced Camp, sort of like boot camp, but for leaders. And as part of that process, we had to do all these amazing things like rappel off a 60-foot tower and drop down off of the slide for life and survive a land navigation course. And then we all took turns being leaders for the day in different capacities. And I was so far outside of my comfort zone. But like I say, in the military and in life, I think you can be surprised by how much you can do. And so made it through, got a high score, and I was selected to be on active duty, which only I think maybe a third of people at the time got active duty. Other people get reserves. And so when I graduated from college, I got my commission, had a little bit of time off, and then I was assigned as a lieutenant to Fort Lewis, Washington.
Amazing. I mean, it really is just, you're so inspiring. And I love that this part of your story, and I love that you challenged yourself in that way to overcome fears. What is something people might be surprised to know about our military and about service in the Army? Something that maybe only someone who's experienced it, kind of like how moms say, there are certain things we can't explain until you are one.
You
What would
know,
be something you would say?
I was literally just having a conversation with a former veteran yesterday, this amazing gentleman who's thinking about publishing a book. And he and I were talking, and okay, I'm gonna give you two things if I may. So the first thing is something we literally talked about yesterday, which is I don't think people realize that one of the greatest gifts of being in the military is the lesson that you learn of how well and how important it is to work and get along with everyone and respect everyone. Like that is something that is just core to the military experience.
Mm.
The other thing that I don't think a lot of people understand or realize is when you're in the military, when you're done, you're a part of this family. You know, everywhere I go, when I start a conversation, you meet a veteran, you just, your eyes lock and you connect. You just have this connection with someone because you have this amazing shared experience and shared respect. And it's something that's I value so highly.
I love that I've seen such an increase. I feel like, I hope you feel it, for the gratitude from our society for our veterans and for people in active military today. It's for me, it's just everything, and teaching your kids to stop and always thank somebody in uniform, just really special. So thank you for your service again. It's amazing. I want to ask you a little bit about your transition from the military into your career, because I know you ended up getting a job at Rodale for quite a few years. Was there space between, and did you leave the Army and know that's what you wanted to do? Tell me how you got there.
Yes, I did, as a matter of fact. So as I was so far away in Washington State, longing and wanting to move closer, I came home to live two doors down from where I started. I rented a house two doors down from my parents. And I had grown up, and hearing about Rodale and knowing all these amazing things about it. And so that was definitely where I wanted to be. And so I applied for a job. It was actually to be this copy editor for a bicycling magazine. I wasn't really a cyclist, but I liked to bike, so it wasn't too foreign to me. And I went through the whole application process, and I knew it was down to me and another woman. And I was like, oh, please, 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 please. So when the editor called and said, I'm so sorry, but you didn't get the job, my heart sank. But I thought to myself, quick on my feet, I was like, well, when can she or he start if you have a little bit of a gap time in between? I don't have anything else to do. Can I pinch hit for a week or two? She seemed totally shocked, but she said yes. And so I had a little foot in the door in my dream company. And so I
You
actually
don't
did
know if
get
you
in.
don't ask.
That's right.
You
That's
don't
right.
know if you don't
I had
ask.
nothing to lose, nothing to lose. And I took a chance. And so I worked there for just about 2 weeks. And I did it as best I could, pinch in anything I could possibly learn and help. And then I graciously, of course, left when the real copy editor started. But they gave me this amazing opportunity and insight into working there, which also then even increased my passion because I was even more convinced what an amazing place it was. And so it was maybe 3 months later, I actually did get my job there.
That is so awesome. So you picked a dream job, you found the dream job, you made the dream job happen. Tell me about your time at Rodale and what you learned in those early years. It's an amazing company. And I think you and I have discussed in the past, but for those listening may not know, I think our paths sort of crossed there at a similar time, because I did a ton of work with Rodale as a consultant and media consultant, as a freelancer. And so, have that similar connection. It's just funny to be reconnected, but it was just such an amazing company.
It really truly was. And I started there in the fact checking department of the book division, which, only existed for a couple more years beyond that. But at the time, it was this amazing team. There were about 25 of us, I think. And our responsibility was to fact check every word of every book and make sure every quote was correct. And that attention to detail and accuracy was really amazing. But what was most incredible about working there was the community of amazing, nurturing, smart professionals who just took young people under their wing and trained them and helped them. And there was such a spirit of wanting to succeed together, which was just absolutely incredible. And so, yeah, I had many roles there, everything from fact checking, did some writing here and there. My last job, though, was a gift because I was a new role for them at the time. I was a project manager. So I was hiring, training, and managing freelancers.
When you think about the skill set and you talk about that idea of being mentored, I remember feeling early in my career, um, I had some women in particular that were so validating. They never thought you're only 21 or 22 or 23. They always gave me the opportunity to speak up or express an idea, even if it didn't happen. And I feel like I've tried to maintain that in the internship program and the young people that I employ today. What lessons did you learn that you tried to bring to your own company? Because I want to transition to talking about when you decided to leave and start your own publishing company. But what are some of the basis lessons and values that you took from Rodale that you would say are in your business today?
Oh, really? That's a really good point because, looking back, if I could have said a prayer, please, please give me an opportunity in a company to work for where I could learn and grow and discover everything I might need to know. That was the opportunity. And so I think there were just so many things I learned there. One, of course, is a commitment to excellence. I mean, you talk about fact checking every word of every book. It doesn't get any better than that. Also, I think the wanting to help people grow and nurture, like really deep caring for the people who work there. And I think something that is very important to me back then and still is helping authors achieve this dream of publishing. And also, though, the calling of helping those readers. So I have an amazing opportunity to not just help authors, but help authors help readers. It's a really great job.
Such a cool connection to all of it. And I have to say, having had the opportunity to work on a chapter in a book with a whole bunch of other people with you, you get that. You get the sense that you really want to help people tap into their full potential and share whatever it is that they have to share with the world. So I love that. Tell me about starting your own business. Was that something that you contemplated for a long time? Was that something you jumped right into? And how did it come about?
Well, I was so very fortunate. I mentioned that the job I had at the very end of Rodale was managing freelancers. So there I am, in my early 30s and thinking about starting a family. And I'm looking at these freelancers on the other side of the phone thinking, wait a second, why could I be there at my house, with my children at home? And so I left a job that I absolutely loved to start my own business, which I absolutely have loved every day since 2004. So I was fortunate because I got to see what it's like to be a freelancer because I was managing them, and so I kind of learned a little bit about what they do and how they worked, and knew what it was like to be on the other side of the desk. So I kind of knew what my future managers were looking for, and took a chance. I had lined up a couple of opportunities. I saved up some money, so I had a buffer. And then I started my own business, Bright Communications, right around 2004.
What advice would you give to people who are looking to start their own business? And what did you find fell into place well? And what did you find you really had a learning curve and had to get some help or figure out along the way? Because I know, having done it as well, it's a commitment. It's a really big commitment.
It really is. It really is. But the rewards are so incredible to have your own business and be able to chart your own course and to be able to create something all your own. It's just incredible. In fact, I tell my sons today, there are two things in my life that I wish I would have done sooner. And then I encourage you to do as soon as possible. The first is buying a home or property. And the second is starting your own business. And so I'm pleased to say that one of my sons is actually starting his own graphic design business. So that's exciting stuff. But you asked me, what did I learn and what was hard? One thing that I would definitely advise people is to try to save up that buffer of money, because if you're doing anything freelancing like I did to start, because I didn't start this publishing company, that long ago. I was just doing freelance editorial, freelance copy editing, freelance writing. The pay is sporadic. You might get a big job with a big check that comes, but then you might not get a check for a little while because you're working on other projects. And so what I did was I started an account, put all my freelance money in there, and then a tax account to save for taxes. And then I would pay myself a regular paycheck, just like when I had been working full time. And so that evens out the bumps in the freelance payment road. So that was a really key success in the beginning. Another thing that was surprising to me that I think people might be surprised to hear is I think sometimes when we work a full-time staff job, we have a sense of security. I have a job. They pay me every other week. I get vacation. It's great. But you know what? I've actually felt more secure as my own business owner because I have lots of employers. I have lots of opportunities. And so things ebb and flow. You know, in my life, I've seen like maybe one client was really busy and I got a lot of work, but then maybe things dialed down and they were doing other things, but then I just ramp up something else. You know, all your eggs aren't in one basket. And so the sense of security that I have felt is really much better than I
Which is
imagined.
so interesting because you don't actually usually hear people say it that way, but you do have a lot of, I guess I would put it as control over your destiny, right? Because if something isn't working, you've got the opportunity to go out and put a lot of irons in the fire and see what's going to hit next. So that's a really cool perspective. I actually really love that, Jennifer. That's cool. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to learn all about how Jennifer has expanded Bright Communications, the publishing end of her business, and what's next. We'll be right back. Ever wonder what you get when you combine an historical riverside city, high-end dining, entertainment venues, and craft distilleries? The city of Easton, of course. One of my favorite spots is the Easton Public Market, right in the center of it all. But there's a variety of places to choose. Whether you're looking for a park to unwind or a night out with friends, check out Discover Lehigh Valley's website to find all the hot spots in Easton. Visit their website at discoverlehighvalley.com for more information. Welcome back to Unscripted with Russo. I'm Ashley Russo, and I'm being joined today by Jennifer Bright, the founder and CEO of Bright Communications. Jennifer, thanks for being with us. What an awesome talk. You're so incredibly inspiring.
Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. So you've had Bright Communications for a while. You've expanded into the publishing world. What do you say to people about writing a book and how is that a less daunting concept? You know, it's something that people think about. I've thought about it. Where do you begin? What's the advice you give people?
Well, first I tell people this is the best time in history to write a book. You have never had a better time than now because so many barriers to entry have been lifted. It's a wonderful time because there's so many different ways to publish a book. There's so much help out there, everything from traditional publishing to all the way down to self-publishing, but of course, independent publishers like me, which we like to say is the happy medium between traditional publishing and self-publishing.
That's awesome. And what is your hope for Bright Communications? You know, what is next? What are you delving into? And how can people find you? Like what makes a good client for you?
So anybody can find us, brightcommunications.net. We work with all different people, all different types of life and all different kinds of books. We do everything from fiction, young adult fiction, children's books, cookbooks, memoirs. And I would say we really love to meet authors wherever they are. So if you're listening and you just have an idea, please reach out because I love nothing more than to just brainstorm. Even if I just help you advance the ball a little bit, it's a pleasure for me to just help, maybe explain a little bit about publishing, explain what your options are. And as far as what's next for Bright Communications, we have a lot of exciting ventures going on right now. We have grown a tremendous amount. When I started the company about 10 years ago, when I actually started publishing books for other people, we did one book a year. Last year, we did 35. We'll do at least that number this year again. We've been growing our team. I have an amazing team, many of whom worked at Rodale, but I have an amazing team of writers and researchers and editors and designers and indexers, photographers, illustrators, and of course, amazing support people. We do so much to support our authors because we want to see our authors grow. We create promotion tools and help them to launch their books. And so some of the exciting things we're working on are, we're just launching something called the Wandering Writers Workshop program, which our first tour is going to be in South Africa for 10 days in November. And so what we're doing is we're taking a group of authors to South Africa to go on a lovely vacation sightseeing. And while they're there, they can sign up for one of 3 writing or editing or publishing packages with my team and I, who are going to be boots on the ground here in the Lehigh Valley. We're not going to South Africa. And so we hope actually to expand that to other locations in the near future, because, you know, what I hear time and time again from authors, Ashley, is that they have no time. They're like, I can't write my book. How can I possibly write my book? You know, the laundry needs to be done. Somebody has to cook dinner. Somebody has to walk the dog. You know, I need to work. I need to see my family and friends. It's hard to find space to take on this really big project of writing a book. And so I say, if you can, carve out a little bit of time each day, or better yet, go away, go on a vacation, go on a little retreat and take some time and get away, because when you don't have all those distractions, it's much easier to get creative and focus.
No, it's great advice, because a previous guest had said who is actually a book author. He had said he had to make the time. People would ask him the question, how do you find the time to write? And he said, I don't find the time, I make the time. And I thought that was such an insightful way to put it. And I think anything you want to do with meaning or accomplish, you have to make it fit into your life. You have to make it a priority, and you have to put it in the schedule. So that's good advice.
You are absolutely right. And the other thing that maybe some people don't realize is that you can hire help. You know, if you need help writing your book, we will ghostwrite your book. We will talk you through it. We will help you every step of the way. And so, you know, if someone just has an idea, we can help you develop that idea. We can help you write it. And then, of course, we didn't do all the steps to bring it to reality. Another exciting thing we're working on is called the Bright Communications Memory and Legacy Preservation Program. And we're developing a program and a whole menu of ideas to work with places like senior centers, senior active living centers, where we'll do workshops and presentations and help them with things like, hey, would you like to come for an hour and we'll write a 1-page bio? Or, hey, bring a couple of your photos. We can transform your photos into a coloring book that you can then have printed and give to your grandchildren. All the way up to, hey, our writer will come in and meet with you one-on-one, interview you, record you, and write your memoir.
Well, I have to tell you, Jennifer, my grandfather did a memoir of sorts, self-published in his last few years, and he's a pretty amazing man. I wish a resource like that with Bright Communications had been available at the time, because it really was a challenge to piece it together, but yet so important to us as a family to have those memories and that history of the business that he had built. So awesome offerings. I love that. I want to shift gears a little bit before we run out of time, because I want to talk about the Lehigh Valley. You mentioned growing up here in Allentown and going to Deerfield. What do you love about the Lehigh Valley? Why have you continued to make this your home with your business, your family, and this is the place that you want to be?
Exactly. I don't know, maybe I'm really biased, but I think there's something special about the people here, Ashley. There is just something so warm and wonderful about the people of the Lehigh Valley. And that, I think, is a lot of it. The other thing is just the opportunities that we have here. You know, where else could you go that you have this diverse restaurants and art and sporting events? Not to mention, we're just a hop, skip, and a jump from Philadelphia or New York or DC. Even the beach. I can be at my favorite beach town in 2 hours. And so it's funny, we just bought this house, and we were like speculating early on, like, well, how long do you think we'll live here until the boys are out of school or what? We just had a conversation the other day. I think we're going to live here forever, because it's just, why would we want to move? The Lehigh Valley is perfect.
You mentioned some great things. What are some things that are your favorite things to do in the Lehigh Valley?
Good question. You know, one of my favorite things is coming up fall, and that's going to all those pumpkin mazes and pumpkin patches. I love to do that with my kids, although I get lost. It's really embarrassing. I still cannot do it.
We just booked a team building day at one of those so that we can sort of pick apples and paint pumpkins and get through lost in a corn maze and have all that. So that is a fun activity to do. What about restaurants? You mentioned restaurants. I know certainly in the 18 years I've lived here, the culinary scene has exploded. I give a lot of credit to Northampton Community College and their amazing program, but also a lot of industrious people who went somewhere else, came back to the Valley, and brought that talent and the cuisine to us. It's kind of amazing here. So anything that's few favorite places you love to go eat?
Yeah, well, you're gonna laugh because we've got 14 boys, so mainly we do takeout. But there is a place in Hellertown called the Noodle Bar that is pretty new that we absolutely love.
I love it also. Lakang, I know it.
Yes, it's amazing, amazing, and they're so nice there. And the
They're
food
just
is
yes,
I
kind,
when
hardworking. Yep.
I walk in there, the atmosphere, my blood pressure goes down like 20 points. I just take a breath, and it's amazing.
That's awesome. All right. Well, before I let you go, we have a little section called rapid fire questions. I just want to confirm you do not know these questions in advance.
I do
All
not
right.
know.
Here we go. You ready?
Ready.
What is your favorite hobby or secret talent?
We play a video game called 7 Days to Die.
That's a unique answer.
I'm not sure I'm really talented at it. I also love to knit hats.
Okay. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Oh. The best advice I've ever received was when I was in ROTC getting ready to go to that advanced camp I told you about. My leader, the teacher at the time, was hounded me for years, 3 years. Jennifer, you need to be bigger, you need to be bolder, you need to be louder. It's I'm not big, I'm not bold, I'm not loud. I'm like a quiet person. And I'll never forget, I bought a watch for the advanced camp and it was big. He looked at that watch, he goes, that's perfect for you. Now, I want you to just go and be yourself.
I love it.
And that be yourself. It was perfect.
Doesn't get any better or simpler than that. All right. Which actress would you cast to play you in a movie about your life?
Oh, I would have to say Julia Roberts.
I was going to say Julia Roberts too. I know. I was going to say that also. I love it. All right. We got to work on that script. We got to get into script writing next, Jennifer. All right. If you didn't have the job you have now, what would you be doing instead?
Oh, that's easy. So I love to call myself the book doula because I bring books to life. And so the reason I'm a book doula, because I really secretly would probably love to be a physician. I would love to bring actual babies in the world, but I literally feel weak at the knees at the sight of blood. So,
all right. Well, they do have volunteers at the hospitals who just go and hold the baby.
Hold the baby.
That's in your future. That could
That's
be in
my
your
retirement
future.
Volunteer.
All right. My last question is, name a person who inspires you.
There are so many. I can be living or dead, right? So I'm going to say Walt Disney.
Great answer. And I don't think an answer anyone's given before, oddly. So that's pretty cool. All right. Well, Jennifer Bright from Bright Communications, thank you so much for being my guest. Thank you so much for building and growing a business here in the Lehigh Valley. We love what you do. And I encourage people who are thinking about writing to just start writing. Just start writing, do something. And when you feel like you're ready, contact Jennifer and she can help you out. Thanks, Jennifer, for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You're listening to Unscripted with Russo. Until next time.
If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.
To see more of The Peak TV, check out our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and catch us on WFMZ Channel 69.